When did this abuse start and who did this abuse?
So it started very young, about the age of 6, and it was my father.
And how far back can you remember, not the sexual abuse, but the physical violence against you?
I don't know any different. Touching my thigh, and he was touching my arm, going through the top of my shirt or under my shorts. We have this mattress that we would pray on, and he would often sit and pray on it, and sometimes he would lay on that mattress, his hand down his pants. I don't think I ever slept. I can't tell anybody it's my dad. She would say things like, I ruined the family.
I know from our previous talks, and we have been sort of talking to you for the last couple of years, you run away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you've hit rock bottom and that's the only way out, or?
Oh yeah, I hit rock bottom. Any which way I turned just came with more pain. Anytime I tried to seek some sort of external help or cry out for help, it came with more abuse. And there was just no getting away from the pain of all of it. And
did you talk to any other adults?
By then, no. I did end up seeing somebody at that time. I had a boyfriend. I did tell him. So, and that's what I mean, like any avenue I tried to take to get some sort of like, this happened to me. Whereas now when I look back, it's a cry for help. It came with more abuse.
So before you run off, you've got this other guy in your life, and you're now telling him certain things. This is happening to you, and this is what he's done.
I've never really gone into detail. I just told him like my dad has done this to me.
Okay, so running away. I mean,
it was just the end of it for me. I didn't really have a plan. The only thing I thought about was dying, and that killing myself was the only way out. That there's no way, there's no out. That's the only option. That's the only option that presented itself. That's the only option that was so real to me. Nothing else. There was nowhere I could have gone for help. No, I couldn't go to the police. I couldn't go to the Gurdwara. I couldn't go to other adults. Nothing.
So running away, did you just, normal day at school, you're going to school and you don't come back home or something? How did you manage to run away?
I attended a religious camp in Gurdwara, and we had a field trip. And
this was in Brampton?
In Brampton, at a Gurdwara that my parents went to a lot. We went to a lot every day almost, and my dad helped build in the beginning. He helped out a lot with the Gurdwara. He was well recognized. And I went on this camp, and I was a volunteer, and I never came home from that camp. I left from where we went to this camp was the Royal Ontario Museum, and it was in Toronto. And I never got back on a bus.
What year was that? Yeah.
This was in 2000.
So there was a field trip out with all the campers?
So we went to the Gurdwara, and then we got on a bus, like a school bus. Well, a bunch of us got on a bus. We drove to Toronto. And, but I lasted the whole day. It was near the end.
While you were at that place, did the thought occur to you that this is the day I'm going? Or was it a spur of the moment thing?
No. All day I was like, okay, this is it. I'm not going back. So I guess in a way it was premeditated. But yeah, it's like I built myself up all day and was like, this is it.
So at the end of the day, when everybody's sort of getting back onto the buses, you've had the tour of the museum, Do you remember what part of the museums that you sort of went to and why did Sikh campers are going to a museum?
Yeah, there was something to do with Sikhism.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact details of it.
So there were Sikh artifacts brought to that museum,
Yeah.
and
It was a really big deal. It's a really big deal.
Okay. So here you are at the end of the day. Everybody's getting on the bus, and that's your.
Yeah, so we rallied up at one place in the museum, and I never rallied up with them. I left.
Did anybody see you go?
As I walked out and was walking away from the museum, I did glance back, and there was a kid, and he was looking through the window, and he did see me, and I just kept walking.
Since the Gurdwara had opened their doors, me and my mom, we used to go there pretty much 6 days a week. Every year, every summer, they had a Gurmat camp. There's one specific Gurmat camp stood out. Every camp, even Punjabi classes, history classes, they would always teach us the importance of our history. They would tell us stories. And obviously, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he really stood out. And this one specific camp was so special. It was actually in 2000. They brought Maharaja Ranjit Singh's throne to the Royal Ontario Museum. So, naturally all the kids were excited. They get to do a field trip to the ROM. When everything was done, we all went back to our buses. I was 9 years old. I think I was actually turning 10 the following month. And news had spread that a girl ran away from camp. And I asked my mom, I was like, why would she run away? And the one story that went throughout everybody almost instantaneously was "O Munde Naal Bhaji." I asked my mom how old she was. I knew who she was. She was my camp counselor. She was volunteering at the camp. She looked after us. My mom said she was 15. Like, how can a 15-year-old run away? Why would she run away? I was still a kid at the time, right? So I didn't grasp the gravity of the situation. The first piece of information that we are fed, we latch onto. Not just kids, but adults and everybody. And that first piece of information that was fed to everybody was, "O Munde Naal Bhaji."
Where did you run to?
That day I ended up around the corner, a couple of blocks down, to a payphone, and there was a subway station. And that's it.
And you made a call to someone?
I did, and then I ended up in Sarnia, Ontario.
I didn't know that Navdeep was going to run away. Navdeep has always tried to protect me from everything. So she wouldn't have told me. It was summer. I was on holidays at my aunt's house. That's where my brother and I went every summer, pretty much every summer at that age. And there was a call. My aunt answered and said that someone wanted to speak to me. So I was really surprised because I knew it wasn't my parents, she would have said. And when I answered, it was Navdeep on the phone. So I was immediately afraid, but happy, but afraid. She told me the situation, and I think as soon as she finished her sentence, I just started sobbing. And I don't know why I had such a reaction, but I had in my mind this idea that that was the last time, like I would never see her again. And she completely made light of the whole situation. She told me that everything was fine. She sounded like she was laughing, jovial about it, trying to calm me down and just, Dan, it's fine. There's nothing you need to worry about. Everything's okay. But I think I just knew that it wasn't. Deep down, I think I knew it wasn't. I just sort of said, oh, okay, so it is okay. I think I was in a bit of denial.
How many days before they found you? How many days were you?
A couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So you were with this guy's relatives, or were you hanging out in hotels, or?
Just anywhere. Yeah, hotels. I had many attempts of suicide by then in those 2 weeks. Tried many different routes. And it wasn't until one of the last hotels they ended up calling the police because there was a lot of blood on their bed sheets. And
so you tried to slit your throat, wrists.
Mm-hmm.
And this person was with you at that time?
Yeah.
He never tried to stop?
Not once. Not once.
So where was the help?
You
picked the wrong guy.
It just redefined that I shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. That was one attempt. Other attempts, what were they?
I tried to drown myself in the middle of the ocean. I didn't know how to swim back then, so I swam out with a floaty and let go of the floating device.
So this place was near an ocean, or
yeah.
Ontario Lake, or?
There's a lake nearby.
No, okay.
And I laid on train tracks and just...
And all the time this person was with you?
Yeah.
So when you lay on a track, he would just let you lay on a track, that's it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think back to that time a lot. And I think back and think like, not one person. All these people that claim they love me and care for me, not one person.
You say the attempted suicide, slitting your wrists, and then the hotel people have called the police.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they pick you up, you're probably already on a missing list.
Mm-hmm.
So your parents must have been called straight away?
No, because I was 16, they did not call them right away.
Mm-hmm.
But they did tell me, they asked me if I was aware that there was a missing person alert on me, and I said no.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept asking me again and again what happened, and I was like, just don't tell my parents. If my dad comes, he's gonna kill me. Just please don't tell him.
Mm-hmm.
And but they kept they wanted more information. They were asking why and whatnot and all this stuff, and I just kept reinforcing he's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me.
But you never told them about the abuse?
No, I told them about the physical abuse. I told them there's a lot of physical abuse. That's why I know he's gonna kill me if he finds me.
Mm-hmm. So from then, in a police station, How quickly are you brought back to Brampton?
I'm not. I didn't come back to Brampton until a few months later.
And where are you staying at this time? With the same guy?
No, I was in a shelter. I was in a women's shelter. And first I was in a hospital for a little bit. And then I was in a women's shelter.
Okay. So after a couple of months, you're back in Brampton? Back home?
No, not back home. I agreed to come back to Brampton after, who is now my ex-husband, repeatedly asked me to come back and we would get married. And my biggest thing was that if I come back here, they're going to take me away. They're going to find some reason, some excuse to take me back, and I know they're going to kill me for a fact. And the police did they had found out somehow, my parents, that we were in Sarnia through somebody else who was Indian and in Sarnia. And then I went to the police and told them, like, look, my parents are trying to contact me, and they asked me what I wanted to do, and I knew they weren't going to stop. And I said, okay. There was a meeting that was arranged that they came to Sarnia, and me and now my ex-husband would get married. And I had told him, like, they would find a way to get me back, and he had brought up that, you know, we should just get married. At that point, I didn't know that his information was coming from somewhere else. My parents were repeatedly saying that we should get married, and we should get married. There was talk in the community about this and how I had run off with a guy. There was no talk about the abuse or what had happened at home or what had transcribed in order for me that led up to those events.
So you were painted as a black sheep of the family.
Very
badly.
much, very much.
So you now agree to the wedding, you come back, and the wedding takes place in Brampton, does it?
It does, actually, at one of Brampton's gurdwaras, Glidden Gurdwara.
I remember being really, really happy because I wasn't aware of what had happened. I wasn't fully aware of everything that happened. I was just happy that she was back. I was happy that she was getting away from home. I was just happy to be, like, in her presence and part of a big day for her. I do remember when I got the pictures from that day that my parents had taken, I remember looking at the pictures and realizing that while I was so happy, she wasn't. And I was only able to really see it in the pictures, that she was disconnected.
Is that the Gurdwara you would normally go to as a young kid?
Yes,
And
and that's where the camp happened.
They organised the camp as well. Okay, and that's where your father would serve.
Yeah.
And you did mention he was very prominent within the community. He had a good standing within the community.
Very much, yeah.
So, Deepa, you married off, and we know that the marriage doesn't last. And so you're back on your own, and you're struggling with life. Did you ever come back home to Brampton, stay with your parents, or were you trying to make it out on your own with your child?
No, I've been on my own with my child since. I never moved back home. I never wanted to, and I never lived with any relative. I've been on my own since my divorce, and to be honest, I've met all kinds of people that'll sway you the wrong way. And to come from such a mind, such a traumatized mind, and looking for that, you know, safe ground or somebody to help you or somebody to rescue you it's such a need that, like, it outweighs anything rational. And I came across a lot of people. I've had to walk out of situations that I thank God for every day, because
I know we mentioned that you were nearly trafficked and made to do certain things which you didn't want to do, all because of your life, really, where your life was heading. I mean, from 14 and 13 and 15, finding out and running away and getting married, When did you actually file against your father?
That didn't happen until January 2016, and it was a year after confronting them again.
Okay, so coming back to the confronting, what made you confront them? What were you struggling with life, or?
I had had an accident, and I had nearly lost my life, and it was a huge call for me. I couldn't fathom them having a link with my daughter, and they're my biological father. He's my biological father. I remember thinking like he would just have a direct access if something happened to me. And I remember going through a period after the accident where every memory that I suppressed about this abuse came
Flooding out.
everything just came right in the forefront. And I did go through a period where I didn't know how to manage it. I did go through a period where I was saying it to everybody and anybody that was listening. And then finally, when I got to more stable grounds, I realized that like nothing was helping me, and I needed to do something more. I needed to do something that would actually be heard, something that would bring me justice. And it wasn't until a year later, so January 2016.
So a year before, you've come to your family home. After the accident, you sat the whole family down, and just blurted it out. And what were you expecting?
I was expecting support, love, some sort of justice, and got none of that.
At that point, did he admit?
He did. He admitted it to my mom. It took a lot for me to like just sit there and be like, I am not leaving this house until you say what has happened.
Okay, so once he's admitted it to your mother, does your relationship with your mother change in any way?
No.
It still didn't go down well.
Nope. It was just another like facade of okay, chal jara kuch keh rahi hai, onu keh learn de, and then you're done with it.
And forget about it.
Yeah.
It's happened. Forget about it.
And
Move
he
on.
even made a point to say he doesn't owe me anything. He doesn't need to ask for my forgiveness. And he was very still in his own persona. Like he's the man. He's the father. He's the person. Like he doesn't owe anything. He didn't do anything.
So January 2016 is when you report this case to the police
I do.
about sexual abuse and everything.
Yeah.
And obviously he's arrested
Yes.
and the case starts.
Yes.
Yeah.